For Telesur, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas. We begin in Santiago, Chile, where a terrorist attack took place outside a fast food restaurant next to an underground train station. President Michelle Bachelet has summoned an emergency meeting. The blast occurred at lunchtime and left 8 people injured. Authorities are searching for 2 unidentified suspects. The government is considering invoking anti-terrorism laws to grant prosecutors further powers and allow for harsher sentencing. This is the 30th explosion this year in Santiago. It comes 3 days before the anniversary of the military coup of September 11th, 1973. And now to Iraq, where this Monday the parliament formally approved the formation of the new government to be headed by Haider al-Abadi as prime minister. Lawmakers approved most of the ministers proposed by Abadi, except for the interior and defense ministers. It is still unclear whether the Kurdish MPS will back the government. It comes as the U.S. continues airstrikes against the IS in Iraq. U.S. officials have announced a strategy that would include NATO forces and have projected that the fight against IS will take years. Soldiers from 14 countries took part in special NATO military training exercises in southern Germany today. The drills come as Ukraine and the U.S. also carry out military drills called Sea Breeze 2014 in the northwestern part of the Black Sea. The exercises come just days after a NATO summit where leaders agreed to step up their forces in Eastern Europe against what they consider Russian aggression in eastern Ukraine. Russia maintains that it has never intervened militarily. Israel's 51-day violent offensive on the Gaza Strip killed over 2,100 Palestinians, most of which were children, women, and the elderly. Our correspondent in Gaza, Noor Harazim, brings us the story of 10 Gazan children who fell victim to the violence.
On July 16th, during Israel's Protective Edge offensive on the Gaza Strip, Israeli forces committed a shocking massacre of 10 children from Bakr family. The children, including brothers and cousins, were playing on the beach when the Israeli warships targeted them, shelling the Gazan shore. The first missile hit a close-by harbor, which prompted the children to run. However, Israeli ships shelled them again, killing 10-year-old Ahid Bakr, Zakaria Bakr, also 10, as well as 11-year-old Muhammad Bakr and 9-year-old Ismail Bakr. In honor of Bakr children, several youth groups from Gaza held a commemoration with the families, relatives, and friends of the children in attendance at the event. Until now, I'm shocked. I can't believe that I lost my child. It was a crime, and I will never ever forget or forgive the loss of my child. At the same time, I'm happy that people do remember my child. The friends and brothers of the Bakr children played a football game to represent the kids were doing when they were killed, while artists from Gaza drew a painting of the scene.
I'd like to thank everyone who remembered my child and his cousins. We also want all activists around the world to help in commemorating their death on the hands of the Israeli Navy. Whoever hasn't heard about this crime should hear about it.
The IDF spokesperson unit had difficulty coming up with an explanation for the killing of the 4 children. They described the death as tragic and said they were investigating the incident, given that initial statement stated that the targets of this strike were Hamas operatives.
Because they are not numbers, and because the people of Palestine want to show that they can't forgive or forget, this event was held in remembrance of the 4 children from Bakr family that were killed on this beach. Noor Harazim, Telesur TV, Gaza.
Thanks once again to Noor. Moving on, a former director of Brazil's state-run oil company has accused more than 40 politicians of involvement in a kickback scheme over the past decade. Paulo Roberto Costa revealed a multi-billion-dollar scheme in which companies bidding for contracts with state-owned energy company Petrobras were required to pay bribes. He said politicians were linked to the governing Workers' Party and that they received a 3% commission if they arranged contracts. President Dilma Rousseff says that she will adopt measures as soon as all information is released about Costa's testimony to federal police. Bolivia and Venezuela are celebrating their country's progress against illiteracy during International Literacy Day this Monday. Illiteracy in Bolivia is at its lowest level ever. Venezuela is marking 7 years as illiteracy-free. Prior to the launch of Bolivia's literacy campaign, nearly 68% of the rural population was illiterate. Over 96% of Bolivians are now literate. International Literacy Day was established by the UN General Assembly in 1965. The Obama administration renewed its plea to Congress for additional resources to deal with the unaccompanied migrant children crisis at the border with Mexico. The announcement was made by Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson, who also declared that the worst is over for now. Johnson said that without the $1.2 billion in additional funding for 2015, he will be forced to take money from other accounts. $405 million have already been moved from the Disaster Relief Fund earlier this summer.
The recent surge has left anti-immigrant.
In India and Pakistan, rescue teams have been deployed to the border region of Kashmir to aid tens of thousands of people missing from massive flooding. In 6 days, the floods have killed at least 350 people. Rescue efforts have saved over 5,000. Disaster officials say at least 350 villages on the Indian side of the de facto border in Kashmir are flooded. This is the deadliest flooding in over 50 years. Switzerland's Attorney General today said that whistleblower Edward Snowden could be granted asylum if he testifies on NSA spying activities. The official prepared a legal document saying asylum is justified if a person's actions constitute a political offense or if the quest has been politically motivated. The only potential deterrent could be higher-level government commitments. Snowden's Swiss lawyer said he is pleased with the possibility. One of history's greatest mysteries has been solved. More than 130 years later, the man behind Jack the Ripper has been finally identified through DNA evidence. The serial killer terrorized London after mutilating and killing at least 5 women in 1888. For many years, authorities had various suspects, but according to British author Russell Edwards, a blood stain found in a victim's shawl permitted the DNA identification of Polish hairdresser Aaron Kosmiski as the perpetrator. We have plenty more on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Cody Weddle. We have the latest headlines for you tomorrow in the morning.